Well, good morning, Laredo College family. Let's try it again. Good morning, Laredo College family. Happy Convocation Day. Welcome to our Fall 2025 Convocation. I'm Ruben Villarreal. I'm the Public Information Officer and Television and Podcast Production Director for Laredo College. It's my pleasure to stand before such a dedicated group of professionals. Our faculty, staff, our administrators, and our Board of Trustees as we mark the start of another academic year. Convocation is our moment to pause, reflect, and move forward together. We celebrate achievements, renew our commitment to students, and set the tone for the exciting journey ahead. Isn't that exciting? Isn't that exciting? Okay. All right. How many of y'all want to throw something at me right about now? Like, shut up, Ruben. At this time, I invite everybody to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Gentlemen, kindly remove your hats. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Before we continue, I'd like to recognize some of the members of our Board of Trustees who are present with us this morning, followed by our administrators who are with us, of course, this morning. Starting on the board with the Secretary, Jackie Levin Ramos, with us this morning. Thank you, Ms. Ramos. Trustee, Mrs. Erica Benavides Garcia. Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Of course, our Laredo College administrative officers, starting with the President of Laredo College, Dr. Minita Ramirez. Our Provost and Vice President of Academic Affairs, Dr. Maricela Rodriguez Tijerina. Our Vice President of Finance and Administration, Mr. Cesar E. Vela. Our Vice President of Compliance and Risk Management and Interim Vice President of Student Success and Enrollment, Dr. David Ariasola. I get an extra $10 when I say Dr. David's name because of all of his titles. Our Vice President of Institutional Advancement, Dr. Diana Ortiz. Our Associate Provost for Strategic and Collaborative Partnerships, Dr. Heriberto Hernandez. And our Executive Director of Human Resources, Ms. Veronica Cardenas. Now please join me in welcoming the Secretary of the Laredo College Board of Trustees, Ms. Jackie Levin Ramos.
Morning, everyone. Laredo College family, good morning to all our faculty, our staff, and our administration, and to fellow board members. It is a privilege to be here this morning, not only because I retired in May, so it's gonna be my first convocation where I don't worry about going back to work. And as I stand here before you today, we begin another promising academic year. It's not only a calendar year, and on behalf of the Board of Trustees, I thank each one of you, faculty, staff, and administrators, for your unwavering dedication to our students and our mission. As an individual who has served on the board for a little bit more than 10 years, I can see the difference that we've made throughout the years, but I can see how much we have changed and how much we have progressed. I know that every time I go out and talk to people about our beloved institution, I hear nothing but great things about the lives we are changing, the new partnerships we are building, and the workforce support we are fostering through our high quality and affordable programs. And I hope you feel the same way too, because it's because of you that we are here today in a successful year. This past year, your efforts have helped Laredo College continue to shine as a beacon of opportunity and excellence. But with opportunity and excellence comes challenges, and we accept them as they come. Together, we will continue working toward meeting the evolving needs of our community and those challenges that come before us, because we're ready for them. The board stands with you in fostering a culture of academic excellence, collaboration, respect, and innovation. We are proud of the work you do and excited for what lies ahead. As we look to the future, I and the Board of Trustees are excited for all the new projects and initiatives on the horizon. And I continue to thank each one of you for all that you do. Let's make this another great year, and thank you for allowing me to be part of this LC family. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Ramos. Now please help me welcome the president of Laredo College, Dr. Minita Ramirez.
Good morning, colleagues and friends. What an exciting day it is today. And yes, Ruben, it is exciting to welcome everyone back. Whether you spent the summer enjoying a well-deserved break or staying busy here on campus, I hope you found moments to recharge, reflect, and reconnect with the people and the activities that bring you joy. Today, we come together with renewed energy, ready to embark on another year of growth, collaboration, and purpose. 3 years ago, I began this extraordinary journey as president of Laredo College with faith in our mission, hope in our future, and a deep commitment rooted in the decades of experience in higher education and service to our community. I stand before you today humbled by our collective achievements, inspired by the resilience of our students, and filled with pride and gratitude for what we have built together. The Board of Trustees, the faculty, the staff, and administrators, we are the driving force behind all of our successes. Laredo College is not just the first institution of higher learning in our region. It is the heartbeat of educational opportunity for thousands. And while we navigate difficult times where higher education is often misunderstood and at times unfairly attacked, we remain anchored in our truth. We're not a stepping stone. We are the foundation that inspires and provides hope. Former UT Chancellor Admiral William McRaven said in one of his books and in many of his speeches, and to many of his soldiers, he said, hope is not a strategy. And while that is true, hope is what sparks and fuels our passion, our mission, and our daily work. We open doors. We uplift dreams, and we change lives. In just 3 short years, we've not simply stayed the course, we've redesigned it. Our progress has been extremely intentional, guided by our strategic plan, sustained by our values, and measured by real outcomes. None of this would have been possible without you. Our faculty, our staff, our administrators and community partners who give so much of themselves for the success of our students and our institution. our purpose is deeply rooted in the very people we serve. Let us reflect on that community that we serve, our community of learners. We know that our students are not traditional type. They're working parents, first-generation college goers, recent high school graduates, veterans, caretakers, moms, dads, and often all of the above. They are the hungriest, the sickest, and the most financially strained, and they carry the weight of the world on their shoulders. Our job, yes, yours and mine, our job is to lighten that load and to give them hope. When we look at the heartbeat of our mission, our students, their results, your results speak volumes. Since the fall of 2021, enrollment has grown fall to fall by a little more than 10%. Retention, it's up by 5.4%. And get this, our graduation rates have risen by an incredible 34% because of you. Together, we've revitalized degrees, added 3 new workforce programs, and launched a Bachelor's of Applied Technology and Data Analytics, with 2 more bachelors in the pipeline and 3 more workforce programs on the way. We have secured numerous programmatic accreditations, and the SAC's 5th year review will be submitted this September, reaffirming the quality and the rigor of our instruction. And because we know that financial and basic needs can stand in the way of learning, federal and state financial aid has increased by 12% because we've done our job. We have opted and adopted to do OERs, or Open Educational Resources, for about 80% of our courses. Students don't have to buy books anymore. We offer the Palomino Pledge, which is free tuition for students who aren't getting federal or state aid, to make sure that they stay in school. We provide free meal plans for students who are enrolled full-time to assure that graduation rate. Because hungry students, they can't focus on learning, and we know that. We've also been careful stewards of all of our resources. Over the last 3 years, we've been able to lower the local property tax rate by 6.5 cents. We've doubled our state-supported funding through targeted work in Austin with our legislators. We've secured more state and federal grants and increased philanthropy by 7.1%. We have accomplished all of this and still managed to maintain a balanced budget. Beyond our campus, our partnerships continue to grow. We've signed new MOUs with 7 major universities, ensuring smoother transfer pathways for our students. And every school district in our service region now has access to free dual credit courses, opening doors to higher education earlier than ever before. We have invested in the spaces where we work, where we teach, where we learn. We've upgraded technology, transitioned to cloud-based systems, audited our internal processes to improve efficiencies, restored historic facilities, replaced roofs, repaired air conditioners, painted walls, and cleaned and refurbished and refreshed both campuses. We now have a new strategic plan that we depend on, enhanced academic and workforce program reviews, updated employee and student handbooks, and a comprehensive security plan. And our facilities master plan, nearly complete, will guide the new decade of our institution and growth. Every one of these accomplishments has been shaped by you, by your dedication, your ideas, your persistence, and your belief in our students and our community. As I stand here today, I'm deeply grateful. We're not just making progress, we're changing lives. And that is the legacy we are building together. This is not luck. This is leadership. This is stewardship. This is community, dedication, and vision. That's why every decision we make, from the 8-week and 4-week semesters, adding classes to the schedule, to extending service hours, all of it has been rooted in equity, flexibility, and compassion for our students. Our presence in this community is a beacon of hope. And the number of students eager to join our programs is a testament to that. The community wants more from you, our best, our brightest, and our community has to offer. Our mission has become increasingly transparent to the community because the community has become part of our mission. See, although the word community is no longer in our name, it remains at the heart of what we are and what we do. Internally, our community is powered by the strength and dedication of our faculty, staff, administrators, and trustees. Externally, we have received startup funding from local foundations and trusts, programmatic support from businesses and industry, financial institutions, healthcare providers, law enforcement agencies, nonprofits, public and private schools, philanthropists, local, county, state, and federal leaders, and countless champions of education. The message is clear. The word is out. Laredo College is worth investing in. We are a community of teachers and learners, of dreamers and doers. We're not afraid of the challenges ahead because we're confident in our potential. When some choose to shrink in the face of financial strain and rhetoric, we decided to grow and forge ahead because we stand and understand that long-term sustainability requires investment first of time, intellect, courage, and yes, money. And this is precisely what we need today from each of you as we look to the future. Your intellect, courage, and a sense of urgency. What we do is not by accident. It is a calling, and you have chosen to answer that call. To the people of Laredo and the surrounding region, I say thank you. Your belief in Laredo College fuels our success. Your continued support makes dreams a reality. And to you, my Laredo College family, it is my profound and most honor to lead you. The future is always uncertain, but your steadfast dedication is precisely what we need to continue providing our students with the very best. Thank you for your excellence, your heart, your courage, and your service. Every achievement we celebrate today belongs to all of you. In closing, Be reminded that Laredo College is an institution with a very rich past, a strong present, and a hope-filled future. Together, we are making Laredo a better place to learn, to live, and to lead. Let's continue this journey together. We are Laredo College. We are committed to excellence. Y que Dios los bendiga. Have a fantastic year, and thank you for being here with us as part of our great family. God bless you.
Thank you, Dr. Ramirez, for your vision, for your leadership, for your guidance, and for always moving Laredo College forward with the intent of doing more all the time. Now we turn our attention to an exciting look ahead. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Diana Bravo, Project Manager with O'Connell Robertson, who will present an update on our facilities master plan, a key component in the future development of our campuses.
Good morning. As you can tell, I am not Diana Bravo. That is definitely Diana Bravo. My name is Danny Cornejo. I'm with O'Connell Robertson, and just want to say thank you all again for having us here this morning to talk a little bit about the exciting items and things that have been happening over the past year. And as y'all recall, we were here last year too. And so wanted to just share a brief update on where we're at currently with the Laredo College Master Plan, very high level. For those that recall, we were with O'Connell Robertson. We're a firm that's celebrating 75 years of continuous design in and around the Central and South Texas region. We've had the opportunity of working on many multiple master plans throughout the state, but most recently here with Laredo College and our deep ties to Laredo College as well. Just quickly, as I mentioned, we were here around 12 months ago, and as we started our master plan for Laredo College, we started it with you all, together with you all, and ultimately asked you all for one question as we wrapped up our presentation, and that was, what was your highest hopes? Not our highest hopes, but y'all's highest hopes when it came to Laredo College's master plan. And as you can see, I want you to take a focus on a few of those words. The larger the word, the more times it was brought up during your inputs for this question. And so you're going to see a tie about what we focused on around what y'all's highest hopes were. And you'll see that throughout the presentation today. So ultimately, what we've been going through is a process that has taken us to this point today. We are not finished with the process. We still have some more items to figure out, to incorporate and to have others give their opinions and other stakeholders to kind of give us their thoughts as well. But Deanna's going to go over what we're at, but we're currently in the planning stages, almost getting there, almost wrapping up. And I think we still have maybe a couple of months still left to go there. But we're going to talk a little bit through each of these and where we're currently at and how we went from stage to stage in the process to define what this master plan is truly going to be. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Diana to kind of give us the rundown of where we're at.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Danny. Apologies for the technology. I'm going to walk you through the process that we've been working with you all for the last year. I'm going to try to summarize it in a short period of time. So mind me if I'm going a little bit faster, but this is not new. At the last convocation, we were able to provide a high-level expectation for each of these steps that were part of the master plan. So really today is almost like reporting back to you all what we worked on. So our first step was visioning. In visioning, we talked about the fact that this is a goal-setting exercise. This is where we sat down with your stakeholders, and we were able to go through like highest hopes, red dot, green dot, which is an exercise where we talk about things that are working well, things that are not working very well, how can we address them? We talked about both campuses, and really the focus of this particular step is the development of what we called guiding principles. So really these guiding principles are critical to us because these are now aligned with your needs, and these will become our measure of success. So as we continue to move on with the master plan steps, we keep coming back to these, and we want to make sure that we are accomplishing these. On the right side, you see necessities. Those were just needs that we knew were essential and that we needed to cover. And then we have anchors that we developed as above and beyond success for our efforts. We talked about history a little bit earlier and just the need for that, the need to make sure that we're a campus of collaboration. So again, these are just examples of things that we keep going back and making sure we're checking as we continue to develop this master plan. We also talked about data collection and how important it was to be informed on not just the vision, but your current status of your buildings, your people. So data collection specifically focuses on people and program. So we were able to look at your demographics, your enrollment projections, your labor market analysis, utilization to really understand where you're at in both of your campuses, actually. So this is just, again, enrollment, looking at projections. You have a steady and continuous growth throughout the next 10 years on both of your campuses. You can see the green is Fourth McIntosh, and then the gray is South Campus. We also looked at utilization in field, which is essentially how often are spaces being utilized, and then how efficiently are they filled. And there's always a balance that needs to come between those two. So we were able to better understand how spaces are being utilized, classrooms, labs, throughout both campuses. We also had an opportunity to look at your labor market, which is critical for us to understand, are the programs that are being offered, are they serving the community? We talked about workforce development earlier, and we want to make sure that the programs that are being offered here are serving the community and are also serving our students with that high wage, high demand type programs as well. Then we looked at the counterpart for data collection, which is assessment. And this really becomes understanding the physical condition of your facilities. So we looked at both campuses in general. We look at a site assessment. We look at drainage assessment throughout the campuses. We also look at traffic analysis, your parking count and needs. And then specifically, we focus on 4 buildings that were targeted at the beginning of this whole process as maybe one of the ones that needed more love and that are highly utilized as well. So those were 2 campuses or 2 buildings in this campus, Kaysen Student Center and Maravillo Gym. And then for Fourth McIntosh, for South, we specifically looked at Billy Hall and Safarinia Library. And in those, we did a more in-depth assessment on just trying to understand the building condition, the structures, building systems, accessibility. These are just the reports that were developed by our team. For this particular effort, we did work with other consultants, structural engineers, civil engineers, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing engineers to be able to assess all your buildings. So with that, now we're able to make informed decisions. Now we understand what your projections are, not just in your program and your people and your enrollment, the community needs, but we also understand the condition of the facilities. And with that, we started our priority efforts. And this really becomes, in like the simplest term, what comes first and in what order do we want to tackle some of these efforts. So we had another opportunity to sit down and say, okay, well, what are our goals? What do we want to look at potential projects? And if we're starting to look at potential projects, what do we want to focus on? What do we think it's really going to serve the students, right? Which is ultimately who we're serving in this institution. So we created primary focus goals and secondary focus goals. And with that, we started looking at potential projects to consider. So in general, for both campuses, we talked about security and technology was a big focus, making sure that there's access control in both campuses throughout to support the needs of the college. We talked about central plant improvements that was reflected in our assessments and how to improve on that. We talked about landscape improvements, not just in your pedestrian mall, but your drop-off areas, outdoor gathering spaces, and then wayfinding and site branding, and making sure there's equity between both campuses. That was also highly discussed in several of our conversations. For Fourth Macintosh, again, these are some of the potential projects that we've identified. They are highlighted on the side. We talked about when you see modernization is just, again, just the facility itself, not necessarily updating the program of the building, but providing a building that then fits the newest technologies, educational suitability for the program that they're serving. So we identified a potential for Cigarroa Science Complex, Cason, for Lerma Peña, a need for fireproof where records keeping is located. Maravillo Gym, we also identified for modernization as well as Memorial Hall. There was a whole discussion of potentially converting building P1 to support an industrial lab to support the workforce development as well. We talked about for the police building to be able to provide a 24/7 generator to support operations. And then the Erie Library, how it's highly utilized and maybe an opportunity to improve the interior spaces to support educational suitability to the newest technologies. Make sure we provided different setups for the different learning modalities for the students. So we also talked about site circulation and the challenges that come with the entrance into this building and how could we improve on that. So again, these are just a list of potential projects that we identified for this campus. For South Campus, similar to Fourth Macintosh, we looked at modernization. We talked about modernization of Billy Hall. There is a discussion of potentially a need for a multi-purpose gathering space. We also talked about potentially a student services building or expanding on the current student services to bring equity between both campuses, as well as Safrani Library modernization. We also talked about the potential of increasing or actually providing square footage to support global logistics and the transportation program, and even the driving path potentially. What would that look like? Could we support it in this campus or not? So we worked through some options potentially for that. And then just, it was identified in the traffic circulation, maybe some modifications to some of the flow of the parking areas. And then lastly, we identified this campus as maybe an event quad. We know a lot of the larger gathering events happen sometimes in this campus. What would that look like? And just different opportunities for that. So with that, again, we started looking at, okay, let's do an exercise where we start looking at this student-centric spaces, both indoor and outdoor. What would that look like? Another visioning effort for that. And then because of the list of projects that we just spoke about and just the market need, the labor market need for Laredo College, we focused on some of those efforts as well. For the planning is really the stage that we're currently at. And this is really putting the pen on paper and saying, okay, identify where the clusters are, opportunities for economies of scale. What order should we be putting these projects if there are a potential or not? And really mapping that roadmap or developing that roadmap. So this, again, is not foreign to you all. This is your current campus right now. And then we started looking at, you'll see different highlights in front of you. The buildings with the light blue are identified as renovations or modernization. And then there's some areas with the darker blue. Those then become more additions or exterior renovations to some of the buildings. You'll see that there's not a lot of new because the goal for this master plan with all the information that we gather is really the message would be reinvestment. Reinvestment in aligning with the needs of the market, reinvestment in aligning the needs for the students and being able to provide better spaces for everyone. We also started drafting some ideas. This is from our landscape architect, some sketches of trying to visualize what those outdoor pedestrian mall areas would be to serve everyone. We know the weather here in Laredo, the extreme, right? So we want to be able to safely make sure students are transitioning, or even all of you all transitioning from one building to another. And what would that look like? So these are just some ideas that we started working through. And then similarly for South Campus, we started looking at the potentials of building placements, that outdoor event quad, potential location for the transportation and global logistics building addition and the driving pad. And then similarly, studying options from our landscape architect of what outdoor gathering space would look like. So like Danny was saying, we're not done yet. We're almost there. I think we are in a process where we have identified the needs, we have identified the potential, and this is where we really go back to the community and make sure we get validation and ultimately go and present to the board and get their approval for it. But we want to thank all of you for your support and for helping us get to this point, for being able to walk us through your spaces, to provide the information when it's needed. So we really are thankful for that, and we are thankful also for your trust in us working through this process with you in shaping the future of Laredo College. So thank you again, and Danny, anything else? No? We're good? Thank you.
As you can see, there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of planning that goes into where we're headed, well, observing where we are, taking stock of where we are today, and then where are we going? And what is the next phase of Laredo College? And what is that going to look like for us and for our students and the communities that we serve? And for that reason, I, along with the other administrators, having worked with Pathways and having worked with Aspen now for almost a year. I'll be graduating this September, I hope, if I pass my last tests. So, by the way, I've been going to school. So, we decided that we were going to invite an incredible woman who really, if you're keeping up with all that's going on in higher ed right now, and I mentioned a little bit about all the rhetoric and all of the questioning of the value of higher education. And she's a champion at positioning higher education, especially in regions like ours, for what it is that we do and why we do it. And so it really is a privilege for me to introduce our keynote speaker today, Dr. Maria Harper-Marinick. She is a nationally recognized higher education leader and advocate for equitable access, student success, and economic mobility. She served nearly 30 years at the Maricopa Community College District, including as Chancellor. A senior fellow at the Aspen Institute and guided Pathways coach for the Texas Success Center. She also serves on the boards of Unidos US. She is the chair, Excelencia in Higher Education, and Valley Leadership. Originally from the Dominican Republic, she came to the United States as a Fulbright scholar and holds a PhD from Arizona State University. She is a frequent speaker, mentor, and recipient of numerous awards for her leadership and community impact. With a deep commitment to transformational leadership in higher education, she brings us today's keynote address entitled, Stronger Together, Building Resilience and Inspiring Excellence. It is truly an honor for me to introduce to you an incredible woman in higher education, my mentor and very dear friend. Please help me welcome to Laredo College, Dr. Maria Harper-Marinick.
Buenos días, mi gente. I know they gave you breakfast. Buenos días, mi gente. Thank you. It is really my honor to be here with you. Thank you for the warm welcome. Not my first time in Texas. I actually come to Texas quite often, but my first time in Laredo. And what a wonderful place. Everyone, from people at the airport, my taxi driver, who said, everybody knows everybody. If you tell them you had a taxi driver from the airport, they'll know who I am. So, I believed him, actually. So thank you. Thank you, Minita, for inviting me. Thank you to the board for your service. And thank you to all of you for being here, for what you do, for choosing to be part of this college. I think it's wonderful that you take the time to be together in familia, to acknowledge the work you do, to be challenged for the work that is pending, and also to celebrate the wonderful accomplishments and years of service, including someone for 45 years. That is impressive. So I have a presentation, and the first part of the presentation is interactive. So you have to play. And I can see all of you, and I can see if you're not playing. So, oh, right here. Thank you. So here's what I plan to do. Where's Veronica? Oh, you're here. Okay, because she's my timekeeper. What I plan to do is I want you to know a little bit more about who I am. So you heard the official bio, but I think it's also important to know people, as humans. So that's part of the game that you're going to play with me, just so that you get to know me a little better. But there's also a point to the playing, and I'm going to tell you that after we do it. Then I'm going to remind you of why, as community colleges, as colleges, we exist. I'm going to remind you el repaso, el de hoy, remind you of national data, why it really, really matters that you engage in the work that you are choosing to do. And then I'm going to end with the voice of students, because I think it's a critical part of inspiration is reminding us what our students are expecting from all of us. So that's the plan. So here we go. So I have some questions. And it's whatever comes to your mind, and I'm going to give you like 30 seconds to talk to the people around you, the person next to you. Okay, so if someone were to ask me, where is my home, what would I say? So you have 30 seconds to talk among yourselves. Go ahead. Where is my home? I can't see you too. Okay, that should be an easy one. That should be an easy one. Next question. I have 2 favorite sports. What do you think they are? 30 seconds. Okay, next question. I like many things, but if I had to choose one type of cuisine, what is it? 30 seconds. What do you think I would prefer to eat? Me. This is about Maria. All the questions are about Maria. So, not you, me. What do I prefer to eat? It's me. Somehow the president was making about herself. I don't know. No, it's me. Okay. Next question. What kind of music do I enjoy? You guys can talk too. Okay. Next question. What do you, all of you, and I have in common? What do we have in common? 30 seconds. Some of you are pretty quiet. This is supposed to be an interactive exercise to get you talking, so, okay. You ready to know what the answers are? There's a prize. So to the person or people who actually get the most number right, I have a prize. And I'll tell you what that is. Okay. So obviously, one of my two homes is the Dominican Republic. If you heard the bio, that's where I was born and raised. Dominican Republic, depending on the audience, I feel compelled to have a map on because sometimes people have no idea where the Dominican Republic is part of an island in the Caribbean, as you can see. Who's on the other side of the island? Haiti, exactly. So those are views from the Dominican. Obviously, my other home is Phoenix, Arizona. That's where I live. That's where my kids were born. I have been in Phoenix 43 years. And I was not a baby when I came. I'm just old. So I have two homes. My entire family, by the way, is in the Dominican Republic. So I live in two worlds. I go to the Dominican often because my mother is now 96 and is, yes, and she's healthy. Thank you. Thank you. And she's healthy, mentally and physically, very strong woman. Pilar Martinez is her name. So I go to see my mother often. But I do live in Phoenix, and I love the Southwest and the desert. Okay. Did anyone guess baseball? Everybody. I'm Dominican, people. Did anyone guess car racing? No, okay, that's my other one. So I absolutely love baseball. I've been enjoying baseball my whole life. But I also love speed. And I drive like I am driving a race car. So I had two dreams when I was really young. One was someday someone is going to ask me to throw the first pitch. And I did. That was the Diamondbacks in Phoenix. And the second one is, thank you. Don't clap. I mean, I did throw the pitch, and it was straight, but I did not get it to the plate. Everybody was going, what kind of Dominican are you? And then, does anyone know who that guy is in that photo with me? Mario Andretti. Good. So that was my other one. Like someday in my life, somebody was going to introduce me to Mario Andretti. So I got to meet Mario Andretti. And in the picture where the car is, that's my husband and my son, John. Their only job at this event was, at the moment that I meet Mario, take a picture. I told them, you can come. That's all you're going to do. I meet Mario. Get introduced, Mario puts his hand out, and I said, Mario, Mario, Mario. I've been waiting like 55 years to meet you, and you're giving me a hug. Well, Mario is Italian, so he's like, Mario. And Mario gave me a hug. I look around, and where are my husband and my son? Literally under that car, looking at the engine. So there is no evidence that Mario Andretti ever gave me a hug. But I did get my hug. Okay. Cuisine, Asian. Who guessed? Some of you did. I love Asian food. My son lives in Tokyo, Japan. So now I have learned more about Japanese food, and I love it. Okay, music. Pink. You all know who that is? I love Pink. One Republic, some of you. Do you know who Juan Luis Guerra is? Of course, Dominican poet, actually, and writer. I absolutely love Juan Luis. Do you all know who Joan Manuel Serrat is? Caminante from Spain. So that's the music. And then the other question was, what do we have in common? Higher ed. We're humans. Service, español también. So we all, including me, I have I am celebrating, this year, I'm celebrating 45 years since I started in higher ed, my first job. And I started teaching. I started teaching in 1980, so it's been 45 years. So what we have in common is we have chosen a life of service, and we have chosen to work in community colleges, which is something that's dear to my heart. Okay, so just to center yourselves, I won't ask you for answers, but why are you working in a community college, now a college? But your president did say you lost the word, but not the spirit of community. How does your role contribute to student success? Because every single one of you plays a role. And what inspires you in this work? I'll give you like 10 seconds to think of that. And what I'll do that, I will tell you why I chose to do it. When I came to the United States, 1982, I didn't know anything about community colleges. And I was exposed to the Maricopa system. I was actually an intern to the Chancellor at the time. And I just fell in love with the mission of community colleges, open door institutions. Basically, we say, we're here, we welcome you, come as you are, and we will meet you where you are, and we're going to help you develop yourself, your talent. So that's one of the reasons why I stayed. I started and I stayed, and I'm still doing community college work. Okay, so now I am going to remind you why institutions like yours exist. And I'm going to give you, these are quotes, not my words. There is an official set of goals for higher education. So I'm going to share them with you, and then I'm going to tell you where that's from. So higher education, to bring to all the people of the nation's this one, the US, all the people. It doesn't say some, it doesn't say if you want, it says all the people. Education for a fuller realization of democracy in every phase of living. Education directly and explicitly for international understanding and cooperation. Education for the application of creative imagination and trained intelligence to the solution of social problems and the administration of public affairs. Education is by far the biggest and the most hopeful of the nation's enterprises. Long ago, our people recognized that education for all is not only democracy's obligation, but its necessity. Is anyone familiar with this? Now, my favorite part of this document is this, and every word matters. So we remember goals of higher ed. Equal opportunity for all persons to the maximum of their individual abilities and without regard to economic status, race, creed, color, sex, national origin, or ancestry. Equal opportunity for all persons to the maximum of their individual abilities is a major goal of American democracy, because only an informed, thoughtful, tolerant people can develop and maintain a free society. Have you seen this before? Do you agree with this? When do you think that was written? Just loud. When? 1700. No, it was in the 1900s. But what's the year? Does anyone know? I will tell you something. I wasn't born, and I'm old. So I'm going to tell you. This was written by the Commission on Higher Education for American Democracy, and it was a commission that The president in 1947, who was the president? History lesson. Who was president? Truman. So President Truman had a commission to look at what higher education should be. So you remember the 40s, coming out of the war. The institutions in place up until that point were primarily universities. And universities were designed for exclusion, right? Universities, selective institutions. Not everybody belongs in college. Not everybody's going to make it to college. So what resulted from this commission and these beautiful words is actually the creation of community colleges as we know them today. So our institutions, open door institutions for all people, exclusion is not our aim, it's inclusion is our aim. That was a result of this work, by the way. And even the term community colleges is part of that. It's a beautiful document. It's a huge report, but it's a beautiful document. So if you ever have an opportunity, I was speaking in New York City some years back, maybe about 10 years back, and I have been using that quote for a long time because it inspires me. It reminds me of why we do this work. And the president of the college was Ostos Community College in New York. He came and he offered me a gift, and it was a book. And at first I thought it was a Bible. And I was thinking, well, that's kind of courageous because he doesn't know if I read the Bible or not. But it wasn't. It was a different kind of Bible, I suppose. It was actually a printed copy of the report. So it is a treasured gift. I absolutely love, and I invite you to Google it and find it. So my interpretation of all of that is this. I do believe in my heart, my mind, that every single person has potential. And for those of you copyright, I did take that picture from your website. But I figured since I was showing it to you, I wasn't violating anything. But every person has potential. I believe that. And I also believe that every single person deserves an opportunity to learn and to develop to the maximum of the capabilities and talents that you were born with. That, I believe that in my heart, and that's why I started my professional career as a teacher. Okay, so have we fulfilled the promise? So the promise that we have made is we're here, come, we'll help you develop to the maximum of your abilities, and we're going to help you have a good life, which, by the way, includes a job that pays a family-sustaining wage. Your president mentioned the work on pathways, guided pathways. We talk about pathways to prosperity, but still, in some places, we actually have pathways to poverty because we still have programs that students invest time and money getting, and those programs do not lead to jobs that pay enough to sustain your family. So how we fulfill the promise. So I have a couple of videos, and I hope it works. And why does it matter? Okay, so.
This is the only place that ever said yes to me, Said, yes, you can get an education. Yes, you can try to be in organizations, learn leadership skills, learn how to dress properly, all this stuff. I learned that all here.
I always try to remind people that in so many ways, we have actually fulfilled the promise because we're here, we're strong. You heard your enrollment has gone up, your persistence going up, your completion went up by graduation, I think you say by 35%. So in many, many ways, we have fulfilled the promise.
I like to push myself mentally. I like to listen in and learn new things, and I know that's what college is all about. They teach me stuff high school won't, and I'm all about learning new things. I love education, so.
I have to admit I was nervous too, like any incoming freshman, but it's just, you just got to see it as, just another day at school. So you just adapt to it. I did. It's easy. A lot of homework. I don't like homework.
School's all right, I like it, but it's just, it's not for everybody. And, I guess I'm just one of those people that it's not for. Maybe sometime later on in life, I'll pick it back up again, but You know, just it is what it is.
In a matter of 3 months, when he came in saying, I am so ready. I actually love what he says in the video. I love to learn. I am so ready for this. 4 months later, 3 months later, he's saying, after all, college is not for me. You even saw the demeanor. So in some cases, the promise of we're open doors and you're welcome was fulfilled. But in other ways, the promise that we're going to help you develop to the maximum of your potentials and help you get a job was not fulfilled. And I want you to keep that in mind, that open doors, access, and enrollment, while critically important, will never be enough, because that's not the promise we have made to the community. It was not, oh, come and enroll, and whatever happens, good luck. It's not. We have said, we're going to help you develop to the maximum of your potential. So, oops, no, there we go. So I'm going to remind you, this is the el repaso. You all know what repaso means? Yeah, the review. So this is why it matters, and it mattered then, it matters today. We know that a college education makes a difference. Some people argue that it doesn't. I've read a lot of articles that it doesn't. I hear a lot of commercials where companies are saying, you don't need to go to college, you don't need a college degree, come, we'll train you, we're going to employ you. I hear people saying, oh, companies are posting a bunch of openings, and they're saying they don't need a college degree. And that's true. But let me tell you something. When you look at what the same companies are doing, the kinds of people they're hiring, actually, they're hiring people with college degrees. So if you don't have the credentials, your ability to compete for those positions, obviously, is not as strong. So it does matter that people get. Because we still have too many people living in poverty, these are national, I mean, it's hard to read all of that, but the bottom line is we have way too many people living in poverty. In some communities is a dramatic proportion. In many places is Latinos, people that look like me and sound like me. So we have to be concerned of what do we do collectively to lift more whole families really out of poverty. We also know, this is also repaso, that all you need to know is the blue is the degrees, at the bottom less than a high school diploma, at the top doctoral degrees, and then on the green side is unemployment. There is a correlation that the more education you have, obviously, that you have better opportunities for employment. Individual with less than a high school diploma, then their proportion of unemployment is high. And it's either unemployment or underemployment. A lot of times people are employed making minimum wage or less than minimum wage. You will not be supporting a family, obviously, with that. Okay, so this is more recent, but it hasn't changed in years. That within the next 6 years, 42% of jobs will require a bachelor's degree. So for you, much of what you do as associate's degrees, you also have, I heard, a bachelor's of applied science. But part of your mission is transferred to institutions that offer bachelor's degrees. So 42% of the jobs, 72% will require learning or training beyond high school. 72%. For students who come to community colleges or colleges and don't complete, what do you have when you leave without completion? You have a high school diploma, maybe, right? Or GED. I remember a student when I was in the Maricopa system that came to me all upset and said, I have taken so many classes and I've done this and I've done that and I cannot get a job. And I said, I told him, just because you have a collection of credits and a collection of courses, that doesn't give you a credential other than you persisted taking those courses. But if they're not bundled into some kind of credential, then no one's going to give you a job because you spent 5 years at a community college taking a lot of classes. I mean, that's just the reality. At this moment, only 55% of adults have a post-high school degree or credential. Okay, so we also know this is 80% of students who enter community colleges intend to earn a bachelor's degree. And 16 do that after 6 years. And why 6 years? Because we know most of the students are part-time and they're not completing in 2, right? They're completing in 4 or 5. That chart hasn't changed in years, my friends. So there's work. As we celebrate all the great things that you have done, you heard from your president, I'm just reminding you, complacency is not acceptable because there's a lot of pending work. Okay, so how is your state doing? So you heard the national attainment. By the way, they consider working adults 25 to 64. And you heard that it is 55%, technically is 54.9% with short-term credentials, and it's 47.1 associate's degrees or higher, which I pulled out because that's the majority of the credentials you offer. So we've been tracking this. By the way, these are all data you can get from the Lumina Foundation, has a website, and they have a report called the Progress of the Nation, and it's updated constantly, and you can look at all kinds of data disaggregated in many ways. So I use it as a reliable source. So 55%, but look at the sentence, with short-term credentials. So if you pull that out, it's actually more in the high 40s. And we started looking at student success and completion as a strategy back when Obama was president, and we started the completion agenda. Some of you may remember that. All of the associations, you know, the Association of Community Colleges, the Trustees Association, Achieving the Dream, CESI, everybody, became part of the movement. And board members in Maricopa went to ACCT, they came back and they said, we're going to do a completion. I'm sure that happened here too. We're going to have a completion goal. So institutions had a completion goal, and then all states adopted some sort of goal, and then the nation tracked. So it's been in the 40s, 30s, some progress, probably 15% increase, but it's not dramatic. The original goal was that there would be 60% of adults with credentials by the original one was 2020, because it was 2010 when they did it. It was 2020. Well, it is 2025, my friends. Now they're saying at the rate that we're moving in terms of success, it may be 2041 or 42 before that happens. And if you were to disaggregate, which I am not doing today, but I do have it, if you disaggregate by race and ethnicity, do you think there's a difference? There's a gigantic difference. And I'm only telling you, even though it's 55%, but if I were to disaggregate the success rate for, I'm going to say Latinos, because that's my culture, is 25%. 25%. Okay. Then I looked at Texas. So for the state of Texas is 51.1%. And then here's, just to give you a sense of what some of the things are happening. So associate's degrees, 8% contribute to that. Bachelor's, 23%. Certifications for the others I didn't include because they were not as pertinent. But just giving you a sense of that. Okay. Now, so I already gave you the nation. Here we are, the same thing. Texas, I gave you that. Then I looked at the counties that you serve. There's 3. Did I get that right? Okay. Jim Hogg is one, 19%. Webb, 29.8. Zapata, 21.1. I'm not giving you that as a criticism because this is hard work. I'm giving to you as a point of reference for the work that's pending so that you fulfill the commitment that you made to your community. And that's why complacency is not something we embrace. Then we're talking, started talking about credentials of value. I mentioned that earlier. Not every program or certification or credential leads to family sustaining wages. So we're talking about that. I know this is language you know because it's part of the HB 8 and other legislature in Texas. But this is what we know. In 2023, so a couple of years, because you know how data is usually a bit lagging, 44.1 of the labor force, again, 25 to 64, in the U.S. had a post-high school degree, I already said that, certificate or certification on wages and salaries at least 15% above a high school graduate's median earnings. So they're using that to define what's a credential of value. So even though 55% have credentials, 44% only has credentials of value. And then the same for Texas is 41. That data is not disaggregated by county. So I don't have that. And then just to give you a sense of what it is, the upper line is associates, bachelor's, and then graduate degrees. So the one with the most opportunity for work is the associate's degree. Okay. And then, so now I'm going to shift to then, so what do you do about it? I like this language of we are serving institutions and not enrolling institutions. Are you an HSI? Yeah. So this is language from Deborah Santiago, who is the COO at Excelencia in Education. And as you heard, I serve on that board. I'm a big champion of their work. And they say, even though HSI is a construct that is awarded based on enrollment. But we want to take it seriously and say we're not content just to enroll. We need to be serving institutions. So I am not here to tell you what to do or not to do because you have amazing talent, great president, administration, faculty, and staff, and you have your amazing students. But I'm going to suggest that there's some good work nationally, and there's some reliable sources of data and effective practices. And these are some of the things that I suggest. College Excellence Program, that's part of Aspen. And by the way, all of these organizations do their work mostly because they're supported by foundations. And what that means is that their bulk of their work is free. Like if you go online, you can get all of the reports, you can get data, you can get power, you can get all kinds of things with no cost to you. You don't have to be a member, you don't have to do anything because they're obligated to do that because they're funded from foundations. So College Excellence at Aspen, the Community College Research Center is a great source of data and information. Are you Achieving the Dream institution? No. Achieving the Dream also has a lot of resources. Excelencia, I mentioned. CESI, do you do CESI here? Yeah, I'm also a big champion of CESI, and I'm going to share some of their work. And then your Texas Association of Community Colleges that has the Student Success Center and then the Trustees Association. I'm going to say the following, not because I'm here, because I don't lie, I don't need to. But I want to tell you that some of the most impressive, impacting work in community colleges in the United States is happening right here in the state of Texas. I do a lot of work here because I'm a coach, as you heard, for Guided Pathways, and I coach Dallas College, Austin Community College, San Jacinto College, but I also come because I am part of an Aspen project called Unlocking Opportunity. And for Unlocking Opportunity, I coach the 5 colleges in the Alamo district. So I actually spend a lot of time here, especially in San Antonio. It seems like I'm always going to San Antonio. And sometimes people, because you also get on the national news because of some of the things that are happening in Texas. And people say, oh my God, how are you so excited every time you say you're going to Texas? And I tell, because actually the best work in community colleges is happening in this state. The best work is not all the work that needs to happen, but it is the best work that's happening. So if you go to your own Texas Association of Community Colleges and you can look at data, you can look at reports. There's actually a report that was commissioned from CCRC that's really specific to Texas, and that's available for free on your TAC website. And then I'm just going to share a little bit of the Aspen framework. As you heard, your president is one of the president fellows this year. And you can see it, and I couldn't make it bigger, so I'm going to tell you what it is. Mission of community colleges, two components: talent development, economic mobility. I think the part that's important is in the middle. And the middle is student outcomes aligned to achieving the community college mission of talent development, economic mobility. So there are three components of this model. Component one, success in college. And how Aspen defines that is students learn, and you get to decide how you assess, and students complete credentials. I would add credentials of value. The second one is success after graduating. So in the old days, including in 2020, when the completion agenda was established, the completion agenda completion was the goal. You complete, you graduate, you're done. Now we're saying, no, part of our collective responsibility is completion for what purpose? And what happens after you complete? So if you're completing and you're not getting jobs that allow you to support your family, then perhaps our mission is not as fulfilled. The other part of it, you heard 80% of students, it was pretty close to that. In my former institution, Maricopa, it was about 76% of the students came to transfer, but they were not transferring either. So unless students are transferring and attaining bachelor's degrees, our mission is not completed. And then the last one is equitable access and equitable outcomes. Enrollment reflects your service area. So if the population of your students is not reflective of the population in the community, obviously you have work to do. Equity in access to programs of value. So in some institutions, I'm not saying that that's happening here, but it happens in places where some pathways are for some students. And we still have, especially a lot of conversations in high school telling some of our Latino kids, you don't need to worry about that, but we'll give you a different path over here. So what we're saying in this framework of equitable access and outcomes is that it's equal access to all of the programs of value for all the students. We don't get to decide what's good for you or not good for you. I always said that. I said my job was to provide opportunities and clarity of what those opportunities meant, not to tell people what pathway is good for you, is not good for you. That's a decision that our students and their families make. And then obviously equity in all those other outcomes. And then this one is, how do you transform an institution? I'm going to read what's on the left, which is more important, is you have to worry about access, equity, teaching excellence, obviously completion, workforce development, and transfer. That you strengthen that by making sure your institution is solid. A lot of what your president has done, developing of a strategic plan, that beautiful, I love that presentation on the development of your master plan for capital investments. And then also your president mentioned the partnerships are critical. No one can do this work alone, and no one is asking anybody to do that. If you're really committed to serving the whole student, then you need to have partnerships. Because what does it mean to serve the whole student? You mentioned hunger. Some students are hungry. Some students do not have a home. Almost every single student that has a child has child care issues. Many students have transportation issues. So if we really want to serve the student as a human being, you have to partner with other institutions, because sometimes the colleges don't have the resources to provide those services to the students, but other people do. Other people do. I was really concerned with hunger when I was a chancellor. I couldn't, other than, there were 10 colleges in the system when I was a chancellor. There are 10 individually accredited colleges. So they all had pantries, but pantries didn't go far enough, right? And then I couldn't invest resources from the institution to buy food because I just couldn't use the public resources for that. But guess who could? All of the food banks in the city and the United Way. And there were so many nonprofits in the community that basically all you had to do was ask. And it was a bit embarrassing because when I finally did ask, they said, "What took you so long? We're here to be willing partners. But you guys, in your arrogance, think you can do it all." And we couldn't do it all, actually. So partnerships are actually critical. Okay. Now I'm going to move to student voices. But obviously, that's me. And those are two of the students at Maricopa. Jackie, this way, Lorena, the other way. So I'm going to tell you a little story. How am I doing on time? Well, good. Thank you. I'm going to tell you a little story about them. So I don't know, about probably 10 years had to be back. I was at a HACU conference. You all know HACU? Hispanic Association of Colleges and Universities. So I was there speaking, and HACU has the main conference, and then they have a student track conference. Lorena and Jackie were students at Mesa Community College, one of the Maricopa colleges, and they were there for the student conference. So they came up to me and said, "Chancellor, we're kind of bored on that side, because all they want to talk about is like resumes and getting a job. And it seems to us that the good conversations are happening on this side. So do you mind if we just come in and sit at my presentation?" And I said, "Absolutely not." So there they were, blah, 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 blah. There were 3 of us speaking. And at the end of that, Q&A, who has a question? So Lorena raised her hand and said, "Chancellor, I have a question for you. Why is it that you all love to come together and talk about students? What's good for us? What's not good for us? The latest effective strategy, how we're going to change the buildings and the registration. And does it ever occur to you to actually ask us what we think of all of that? Because we are not, in community colleges, 5 years old. We are, most of us, adults, and we are not blank slates. We have lived experiences. That was like one of the most impacting questions I ever got in a public or private. That was a pretty public setting, but in a private setting, that was really impacting. So yes, that made me think, why don't we, right? The student voice. So at that day, I decided I would never do anything again in Maricopa while I was chancellor that did not include the students. So these 2 students, they were students at the time, so now move forward. Lorena is on her 3rd term in the state legislature in the House. She became a legislator, and she is extremely successful as that, and still asking the tough questions, and still speaking up. And Jackie is now at the Harvard Kennedy School of Government. To be honest with you, if they hadn't said that to me, I don't know that I would have come up with that wisdom alone, because I hadn't up until that point. So I am suggesting to you that you treat your students in the same way that Jackie and Lorena asked to be treated, which really made an impact on me and how I chose to do my work moving forward. So I mentioned Ceci, you complete Ceci, and Ceci has this report. Have you seen this report before, some of you? Listen to me. Also, you can go get it for free. They have a library of videos they've been recording with students. Any topic you can think of, they probably have a video. So this is what we know about students, what they expect. Equitable access. Hello, they're here. That's what they expect. They're coming to community colleges specific for that reason. High quality instruction. Doesn't matter how they're ready or readier or not as ready. They don't come here, and you know this, they're expecting excellence, and that's what you do. Those of you who are faculty, you know that. Academic rigor is not true, especially students of color and students who come to community colleges, that you can't be as rigorous because the students are not as ready. No, you demand. Are you all familiar with Vince Tinto? Vince Tinto used to do a lot of research on student success and student affairs, and Vince Tinto said many, many years ago, no one rises to low expectations. You expect that much, that's what you're gonna get. You expect that, that's what you're gonna get. And I had to put that to practice with my son. So I have two. I have a son, I told you he is in Tokyo, Japan, and I have a daughter who lives in Utah. And my daughter was born structured. She's one of those good students. She knew what to do. You don't need to remind her. She has lists. She has paper all over. She's extremely ready, organized. I'm going to put the work into it. And then there's John. And John is brilliant, brilliant brain, but equal amount of brilliance and laziness. And he would kill me if he was here listening to what I'm saying. Man, he did not want to put the work in. He did not want to put the work in. When he was a junior in high school, it's like, Mama, let me just drop out. I'm like, are you kidding me? I go around everywhere talking about college, and a lot of mothers actually used to send their boys to me for inspiration, but I couldn't get my own kid to get in gear. And I used to say, John, you were born. He said, you're too demanding. He said, you're too demanding. Did you know, he said, that a C is actually a good grade. It's an average grade. And I see a C is an average grade for average people. But people who are born with an A brain are going to get A's. And that includes you. So my expectation is you perform at the level that you were born to perform. And you're going to get out of bed, and you're going to go to high school. And I remember he said, well, I don't have motivation. And I said, well, where does motivation come from? And he said, well, I know what you're going to say. It comes from here. And I said, that's true, but it comes from a different place. I tell you what. What is that? And I say, if you don't get out of bed right now, I'm going to kick your fill in the blank all the way to the parking lot at the high school. So John, out of bed, back to school. Well, John is now an engineer in Japan. So John is fine, but that academic rigor has had to be instilled in him. And my daughter, as well as she did, and she was born a scientist, at some point along the way, she decided she was not good in science or math. I'm like, you have a natural talent. Well, I'm not good. So it took one, listen to these faculty members, it took one teacher, her chemistry teacher, when she was a junior in high school, totally reignited her passion for science. She's a biochem engineer now for the state of Utah. My boy is a mechanical engineer. They're both engineers. But it took a lot of rigor and a lot of motivation for that rigor. I already mentioned that, so I want flexibility in services and delivery. I know you have online for many places. That means if I'm working 2 or 3 jobs, I cannot be here at 10 o'clock in the morning unless my company releases me to do that. Some employers do, some employers don't. So you have to have flexibility. Clear, concise, coordinated communications. That sounds like a simple statement, but it isn't. One of the colleges I was working with, they're like, oh, we just send all this stuff to the students. And I said, well, how much do you send? And the people in the group, like, well, I don't know, we send 10, you do 20. At the end of the day, they were sending like 200 emails and texts. And guess what? The students were not reading any of them. So the students want to hear from you, but they really want you to coordinate the communication and make it accessible and clear. What they find helpful. Someone explaining, these are all from CESI, someone explaining the processes so that they're not lost and confused. And many times, my friends, it's as simple as, I'm in the parking lot, I don't even know where to go first. So this is not necessarily some sophisticated solution. It might be anybody walking around actually knows enough to send the students to the right place. But signage actually helps. Advisors who spend time with them and listened to them. Not just filling out class schedules, but actually having a conversation. That's hard to do because I'm very sure, like with other institutions, you don't have enough advisors. And your loads are high, but finding ways to provide that opportunity for the students. Having a clear academic plan. Students do want to know that there's a path from A to B, and you're here to help. Reminds me of another video from Ceci. There was also an adult male student, and was asked about that, and the student said, when I first came, first generation college, I don't know what I don't know. But if you know what's better for me, and you don't tell me that, and you don't make me do that, then shame on you. Another video that impacted me. Student success courses, I don't know if you have one of those here, but those actually work, usually courses that are inclusive of study skills and career literacy and planning. And in many institutions, they're required during your first semester, ideally, sometimes first year, but they work. Tutoring service and study groups, they work. So they find that helpful. And obviously, I mentioned the basic needs. Okay, what they value. So I told you what they expect, what's useful, what they value. Welcoming spaces. Welcoming spaces. You know what that's inclusive of? People who look up and smile. I had an audience like this at Glendale Community College. There were 400 students. And at the Q&A, someone raised their hand, and then I said, what's on your mind? I used to call them open mic sessions, like anything goes. And she said, I don't know why people at this college don't seem to be happy. And I said, what do you mean by that? And she said, no one ever smiles, and it makes me uncomfortable. That's part of welcoming spaces. By the way, smiles don't cost a penny. They're actually good for you and your wrinkles. They want to be in a safe environment. Thank you to our officers, but also all of us make environments safe for the students. Sometimes it's just the acknowledgement, the making eye contact, making sure that people feel that you're here for them, supporting them. This is a big one. They want to be seen and heard as human beings. One more story. Am I okay on time? One more story. I was at one of the colleges in Maricopa speaking, and probably, doing what I'm doing now, which is looking around. When the meeting ended, I had to get out of there quite fast. It was for Women's Month. And I remember going down the stairs, I had to turn a corner. I was by myself, and at the bottom of the stairs, there was a person that was a bit disheveled, and she just looked up in a kind of semi-aggressive way and pointed at me as I was coming down the stairs, and she said, I was waiting for you. I would be honest, my first reaction was to look behind me, like, okay, why now I happen to be by myself? Like, when are my officers when I need them? I perceive some aggression. So I came down the stairs and I said, why was that? She said, well, you were just speaking. And I said, I was. And she said, I was in the room. And I said, well, thank you for being in the room. I hope you found what I had to say of use. And she said, you made eye contact with me. Well, I probably made eye contact with almost everybody in the room, but I didn't necessarily remember her. But this is what it mattered to her. She started crying. And she said, look at me. And I told you, she was kind of dirty and unkempt, And she said, no one ever looks at me, but you looked me in the eye, and you validated me as a person. And she said, I don't remember the last time someone made me feel human and that I belonged. So we ended up hugging, because I hug everybody. By the way, those of you who got most answers about me, and I say I have a prize, it's a hug. So you find me at the end. I believe in hugging. If you don't want the hug, that's good too. But hey, I'm a touchy woman because I think human touch is healthy and good. So see your students for who they are. They're people. They're people. By the way, do that to each other too. Do that to each other too. Validate yourselves. They want to be respected and they want to be included. And the word respect has a lot of value to me personally too. When people use like, we need to be tolerant of other people. I don't want to be tolerated. I don't want to be tolerated because I'm a Latina with an accent, obviously an immigrant. I want to be respected, and I want to be included. And by the way, our students feel the same way. They want people who care. So part of my work with Aspen, I do college visits for the Aspen Prize, and I've done many of those. And there is a consistent, and part of that is meetings with the students in private. There's no one from administration or faculty or staff, just the students. And consistently, 100% of the times when we ask, what do you say is the best thing about this college? 100% of the times the students say, people care. People care about me as a person. They want to have a sense of belonging. Sense of belonging. And that doesn't mean that you have to adopt everybody. That doesn't mean, actually, it doesn't even mean you have to hug everybody like me. But they don't want to feel like you're here, but if you were not here, well, that's just your choice. They want to feel, no, you're here, we want you here because you belong as part of our family. Okay, so moving forward, what I suggest, I invite you to think about is life is hard. There are many challenges today. We heard that from both your board secretary and your college president, that there are many challenges every day. Life is hard, and right now there are many things, there are many communities in suffering. There are many communities, and whatever I'm gonna say is coming from a human perspective, not a political lens. I'm not a political person. But there are people in pain, there are people afraid, there are a lot of challenges. But guess what? You're here, and your students are still coming, right? So one of the ways to develop resilience is to stay focused on your mission, and that's why I went back all the way to 1947 to remind you of why we exist. Stay focused on your mission, your values as people, your values as an institution, and again, the promises that you have made to your community. Together, you can navigate the challenges if you have clarity, if you develop strength, and if you maintain, which I believe you have, an unwavering commitment to your students and to you all as people, to each other. Support each other en familia. Choose light, gratitude, and hope. That's a word you used multiple times, and that's a word I use daily. Not necessarily, I'm not necessarily optimistic all the time, but I'm hopeful all the time. And I am full of gratitude every day, every single day when I get up. I am grateful to open my eyes and to know that I'm alive. And I take that as an invitation to try to make a difference one more day, get it right, maybe. I have one more day to get it right. So I am going to end with a poem it's in a book called Illuminate by Nancy Duarte and her colleague Sanchez. So I just invite you to think about the meaning of the torchbearer's calling. The future is a formless void, a blank space waiting to be filled. And then a torchbearer envisions a new possibility. That vision is your dream, your calling, and it burns like a fire in your belly. But you can't create the future alone. You need travelers to come along. Yet, the path through the unknown is dark and unclear. You have to illuminate the path for travelers. Torchbearers communicate in a way that conquers fear and inspires hope. Some say being a torchbearer is a burden. Some say it's a blessing. Either way, those who light the path are the ones who change the world. Every day is a new beginning for you too. This is one of the beautiful sunrises in Phoenix, Arizona, right outside my home. So whatever you choose to do moving forward, just remember what you do, each one of you matters. It matters to your students, it matters to the community you serve, it matters to all of you because you're all interdependent on this work. Institutions cannot do it alone. Guess what? Individual people, including the college president, cannot do it alone. She actually said that. She said, I need all of you to do the great things that Laredo College is set to do, is ready to do, and wants to do. So I hope you find inspiration this year. The gift of academia is that there are endings and beginnings. You end a semester, you get to celebrate, then you develop hope, there's a new beginning. Do you know that most industries don't have that luxury of closing and beginning, closing and beginning? So use that rhythm as a way to renew yourselves and give yourselves hope. And I hope that at least one thing I said today inspired you to continue to be a better person. I want to thank you for inviting me. I want to thank you for being who you are and choosing to do the work that you do. Thank you, Minita. Thank you, board.
Thank you so much, Dr. Harper-Marinick. Once again, one more round of applause for our keynote speaker. What an inspiring message. Thank you for your time this morning. Dr. Benita Ramirez has a lovely gift for you. Did you want to say something, Dr. Ramirez?
I do want to take a moment. Now you know why she is a mentor to many of us that are in college presidencies. She's very genuine. She tells you the way it is, and she really is hopeful for all of us. You know, in 1947, when that commission was established and the work they put out, that was the year that Laredo College was established as well, to fulfill that dream and that void for those that were coming home from World War II. So inevitably, the work that you've done and the work that we're doing and that commission set forth for us is still our greatest work to come. So thank you for being here. Have a wonderful trip home, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Dr. Ramirez.